All right, 30 teams, 10 minutes, 30 by 10 series. We're going to talk about the Minnesota T-Wolves. Definitely hit subscribe. I appreciate it. Any questions and comments, concerns that you have, uh, definitely leave me a comment. I'll respond to any of them that you have. So let's go ahead and get started. T-Wolves, last in the West currently, 1-9 in the last 10 games. Cat out with COVID, so prayers up to him. He's had a tough couple of months here, so definitely prayers out to Cat. You have the owner trying to sell the team. It looks like he's not getting the asking price that he wants. He's been steadfast, and the owner, new ownership, has to keep the team in Minnesota, so that's kind of cool the market a little bit. They have a top 3 protected pick that's going to the Warriors. Once again, they're last in the West. Uh, had a ghastly loss the other night to the Magic where they were up big and they gave up the ghost lately. So right now things are not really looking good for the T-Wolves. It's been tough. Um, so we can talk about things that are looking on the bright side. It looks like D'Angelo Russell seems to have found his groove a little bit offensively. They traded a lot to get him, traded Wiggins and that protected pick to get him. But he's shooting well. Part of the calculus was if we bring him in, who's a friend of Cat, him and Cat maybe take some ownership and some stock and try to make this Minnesota team their own. And it's good to see him scoring and being efficient. He's still not playing as efficiently as he was that one year in Brooklyn where he was an all-star, but I definitely think the talent is there. This is an interesting team just fit wise. You have him, you have Anthony Edwards, you have Jared Culver, you have just a lot of players with overlapping skill set, Ricky Rubio. So there seems to be a lot of players in that bulk of minutes, and it's hard to really find players. Once again, I talk about roles and allowing players to grow and what people being comfortable in their roles and how that affects all of their production, shooting percentages, and so on and so forth. And there just seems to be like a lot of overlap there. Now, D'Angelo Russell, um, I'm a fan of his. Always been a fan of Loden since he came out of college. So we'll see what happens there. A big fan of Naz Reid, 21-year-old big man, has good size, shoots the 3 ball well. Um, I think that as this team goes forward, they have to really figure out what their identity is going to be. And I think part of their identity should be playing big. I would like to see Naz Reid start with talent, and that could give them a formula where maybe they can improve defensively when you have these 2 guys in the paint, and you have a situation like the Bucks had where the Bucks were allowing the most 3-point shots in the league, but that was by design because they said we're gonna, protect the rim. We're gonna stop you from getting the easiest shot in the league. And if we do give up a lot of open threes, we're gonna be selective in who we give it up to. But our priority first and foremost is to protect the rim. And I think that especially with having loading on your team and you have Cat who seems to have regressed since his rookie year defensively. I think maybe a strategy is, hey, let's be big, let's protect the rim, let's give up a lot of threes, but let's punish people in the post and play through our bigs. So, that's something that I look at because I'm a big fan of Naz Reid. We talked about earlier about Culver. He seems like an odd man out. This is a top 5 pick, freak athlete. He's just not getting the minutes and the touches that, once again, I think you need. If you're a top 5 pick, you should be playing and you should have the ball in your hands early. You should be getting these calluses early to see what you really have. And just this, what I see, Rubio playing, you have Anthony Edwards, who I wanted to talk about, the number 1 overall pick coming off the bench. I just think that you need to be force feeding these guys and let's see what can happen. Let's see what these guys have, especially in a season like this where it looks like, it's not over. Still super early in the season. A lot of teams have been middling. they could definitely come back into things if Cat, depending on when Cat comes back. But I think they're a team that definitely should be focusing on uh, having their young guys play and having Culver, a guy who you just drafted in the top five, playing 20 minutes a game on a team that's last in the West. That just doesn't make sense to me. Um, maybe he might be a trade chip going forward. Beasley, the guy that they brought in last trade cycle, he's continued his great play, shot it well from the three. But once again, I'd rather see what Edwards and Culver have. If you play those two together with Loden, then you have a team where you have these two freak athletes with Russell. You can kind of start to see how things make sense. Um, so I think that Beasley, me personally, should be a trade chip. I understand keeping the talent. You can't let the talent go. This is what I talked about with the Kings when they let Bogdanovich go. But now they have to start looking at roster construction, what type of team we're going to be going forward. Because I don't think they're good enough to just completely outscore people. We'll see what happens. But one trade that I particularly like for them is trading for Andre Drummond. I talked about playing big, beating people up inside. Big with Cat. Cat looks like he's one of the most skilled offensive players at the big man position we've ever seen, with his 3-point shooting, his ball handling, his passing. So him playing inside out with the Drummond doesn't seem like it would be too taxing for them. So that's something I would like to see. In addition to that, um, it looks like Rubio's coming back from his long absence. They've actually played well in the games that Towns played. He's only played 4 games, but they're 2-2 in those games, and they had a pretty tight loss in one of those games. So, all is not hope is not lost for this team. Doing something this year, but we'll see. Hold on for 1 second. My daughter bothering me. Hold on. Mama, give me a second, okay? Let me finish, okay? 5 minutes. I'll be out there, okay? All right. Sorry about that. But it doesn't look like all hope is lost for the team in this season. Like I said, they're 2-2 in the games that Cat hasn't played. One of them was a close loss. Another trade chip. Now we're talking about trade chips for Beasley. Another person that I might think that they could be interested in is Al Horford. Once again, going big, having that be your identity. Al Horford, it gives you a little bit more defensive versatility than a Drummond. Gives you more spacing and shooting if you would like to go that way. But this is a team that doesn't really rebound well. So I like the idea of pairing Drummond with them. I believe Culver is leading them in rebounds at like 6 a game, and he's barely playing. So, Cat, he hasn't played, so his stats don't really count. But I think that maybe that's an identity that they should really, take a look at, and because it seems like the pendulum is starting to swing back a little bit to big men. You have a Towns, you have a Joker that you have to deal with. You have the Embiid, you have Anthony Davis, so you have Bam, you have Sabonis. So I think that they should embrace that and really swing it really back and play those two bigs together, especially when you have a big as talented as Towns. So that's something that I want to see going forward. The arrow on the team is definitely pointing down. But this all depends on Cat when he can come back, what type of shape he's going to be coming back. Maybe team stealing a win here and there. Playing above um, their ceiling for a couple of games till he holds things down, but it just hasn't seemed to be the case. They played Atlanta last night, recording this on a Saturday, got blown out by 20. It's announced today that they're resting D'Angelo Russell when he only played 21 minutes. So I don't know what the outlook is for this team. What are they doing? Are they trying to pack it in? They owe this top 3 protected pick to the Warriors with the way that the draft has been set up now with the lottery. You are not as incentivized to tank. Being one of these lowly teams does not guarantee you a top 3 seed. Now, this is a star-studded draft, a lot of wings, which is going to add more overlap to what they already have. But you have players that we're talking about, that you have 6 or 7 players that they're saying could have went number 1 in this draft, and there's this draft, as much as people have maligned it, it seems like it was a good draft. We talk about Anthony Edwards a little bit. Once again, I think he should be getting more minutes. He should be getting more touches. I've liked what I've seen, but the ball is not particularly in his hands as much as you would want it for a number one overall pick. I think that you got to force feed these kids. It's like you know, um, I think these guys coming, um, a player like Anthony Edwards coming off the bench and not getting as many touches, just doesn't make sense. It's just antiquated. It's like sitting your um, number one overall pick down in the NFL. These guys are so um, game tested with AAU and these camps and things of that nature. They're ready to play out the box. LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards. These guys playing 20 minutes a game for teams that are middling. It doesn't make sense to me. I think you need to see what these guys have. One thing I liked about Spider Mitchell is they put him in this position where a lot was on his plate, and he showed a willingness to learn and try to fix his bad habits and try to expand his game as a passer. And you don't get to see what the player needs to fix and learn unless you force feed them and really put a lot on their plate. So I'm a big fan of Anthony Edwards. I don't have a problem with that pick as number one overall. Big fan of LaMelo Ball. I think this draft class was actually star-studded, but these guys need to play. They have to find ways for these guys to play. It doesn't really make sense not to, really stretch these guys' limits and see what they have so they can become better players sooner. You're not going to get better without the reps that these guys get the calluses right now instead of year 3, year 4. Now we're finally putting Anthony Edwards into the ball handling role, and now we're seeing what his deficiencies are. In year 5 and year 6 is when he's trying to fix them. When you can be doing it now, when you're the worst team in the West. So that is my spiel, session 3 on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Definitely leave any comment. I'll respond to all of them. Hit subscribe. Bet of the day dropping around 3:30 p.m. NBA nightly notes dropping around 9:30 p.m. So get at me. I also do football, 30 teams, 30 minutes football edition. We're going to be dropping that after the Super Bowl. So look out for that, Minnesota Viking fans. And we should keep this thing going. Thank you for the support. Once again, hit subscribe, tell a friend. 30 teams, 10 minutes, 30 by 10. Get at me.